Welcome back to Community Connections. I'm retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Carl Lilvik. In our May and June shows, I discussed the events involved with President John F. Kennedy's funeral during those awful days in November 1963 when our country's 35th president was assassinated. The days that followed were filled with preparations by our military so our nation could honor the country's youngest president. In this last segment, I continue the discussion with the final ceremonial events up to and including his burial at Arlington National Cemetery. Join me now as I discuss the final salute to President Kennedy.
Welcome back to Community Connection. I'm Bill Sharkey. We're doing part 3 of this incredible story of behind the scenes of the burial of President John F. Kennedy. And so we've just left the church, and now we're embarking on the march through the streets of Washington onto Arlington Cemetery. And Carl, set it up for me. How many troops?
All right, wait a minute. We're not leaving the church yet.
Oh,
We've got...
you're a good Christian.
Yeah. No, actually, when the service is over, they have to bring the casket down to the front and load it on the caisson. So one of the reasons for putting it on the dolly truck is that there was no room for the team to turn around at the near the altar. So by using the truck, they could back it and
The cart.
cart. They call it a church truck.
Okay.
So they come down, and then they start going off of the out of the church to the caisson. And as they're walking over, carrying the casket over the caisson, Mrs. Kennedy reaches down and says to John, says, "Salute your daddy." The Secret Service, and I've forgotten his name, a Secret Service agent had been teaching John for about 2 weeks how to salute. And he was doing like any kid would do, like that. Everybody was shocked, and those people that have seen the picture, it was a perfect salute of his father. The extra point is that it was his birthday, his 3rd birthday.
Wow.
So we leave Mrs. Kennedy and the entourage, and the kids went off to the side, went back to the White House. So now we're going down to Arlington Cemetery. They had picked 1,200 troops. They were 10 feet apart, lining both sides of the street. There were 102 cars that followed behind the caisson, which the caisson, this time the casket bearers were alongside the caisson as it went. There were 8 white horses, 4 military people on the left side. It's got something to do with horsemanship. So then you've got Lieutenant Byrd right behind the caisson. Following behind him is the president's flag, a Navy enlisted man carrying the flag. And behind him is a horse named Blackjack. Blackjack had a saddle and he had boots in reverse. It's a comparisoned horse, and it's a traditional type of thing where it reflects the leader looking back on his troops as he is departing.
And Blackjack was also as a nickname, wasn't for Jackie Kennedy's father Bouvier?
Was also named Blackjack.
And how was Blackjack selected?
Well, Blackjack was just one of several horses that were trained to do this. Matter of fact, they say he enlisted in the Army in 1947.
Oh, geez.
So this is 1963. So he was around for a while. He was usually a very stable horse, but he had a couple of incidents, and he was used to working at Arlington Cemetery, which was a quiet place. But even though the people were silent, he was surrounded by crowds going down the street, He was very feisty. He was bobbing his head all over the place, and I've seen the films, and I feel sorry for.
Another thing that you mentioned as they're marching down, the casket flag was flapping.
Yeah, that's. I use this as an indication of Sam's leadership and his perceptions. The flag flapped over the casket, and he looked at it and he saw it was made by the Valley Forge Flag Company, and I believe it's Springfield, Pennsylvania. He took note of that. He jumped to the end, but he eventually wrote them a letter and said, "You should be proud that your flag was on the president's head." That's the kind of guy he was. So
fast forward, we've now arrived at Arlington Cemetery.
Right.
What's the procedure? Where do we go from there?
Well, we're down here now. The caisson is down at the base of the hill. What had been done was originally there were 3 sites looked at. McNamara, Secretary of Defense, along with the cemetery director and Robert Kennedy. The cemetery director had selected 3 sites. Then the 3 of them went and looked, and they agreed that there was a site just below the Curtis Lee mansion, which was actually General Lee's, Robert E. Lee's mansion. Belonged to his family, but it was right there. After that, Mrs. Kennedy came and said she agreed. So you've got a hill that they're going to walk up. And before that, you have 102 cars worth of dignitaries
Wow.
that have to pull up, and people have to get out. There is also, as they go up and they reach the top, it was very slow. Remember the weight, always remember the weight of the casket. Now you're talking about 3 to 5 to 8 minutes, I say 5 to 8 minutes, of carrying this casket behind a slow-moving entourage of priests and generals, and they're going up the hill. When you finally get up,
And they're the same soldiers throughout this
Oh,
whole
yes,
thing. They didn't
right.
change. They're the same soldiers.
didn't change at all. They had practiced, again, putting the casket onto to the location. But what happened was Mrs. Kennedy had decided she wanted a eternal torch, eternal flame. They had jury-rigged an eternal flame right at the head of there. Copper piping, a lot of concern by the Secret Service of whether it would blow up and all of that. They had greenery around it, and actually they came and dumped water over the greenery so it wouldn't catch on fire. But so they took the casket and they had to, normally they go, it's always carried feet first. So normally they would come in from the top and put the casket down feet first. Torch was there. So they had to rearrange their process and put it up head first onto the...
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Was there ever an eternal flame torch prior into that cemetery? I've never
No.
heard of it until that
No.
particular
No.
time.
It's my understanding the Kennedys, particularly Mrs. Kennedy, had, when they were on a European trip, had been to Paris, and there is an eternal flame at a war memorial in Paris. It wasn't for a person, it was a war memorial. She liked the idea. She figured that would be good for him. And it still exists.
Again, I'm sorry to stop you, but
Yeah.
was the Irish Guard? Well, tell me.
I was going to say that
Yeah.
from Paris they were
Yeah.
traveling around and they went to Ireland. And again, this affinity for the military, they went to a military school. I suspect it was similar to what I went to, but it was an Irish military college with the teenagers being trained and educated. So they did a performance, a drill performance, which was a funeral type death thing. One of the things she wanted that for President Kennedy. They flew them over. They got them out of bed in the early morning, put them on airplanes and brought them with rifles. Today, I can't imagine a commercial flight allowing them to do that. So anyway, they came, they performed. Let me back up. They put the casket down. Now the flag is covering the casket. They pull up the flag. They hold that as respectfully. While they're holding that, the guards perform, the Irish guards. The Air Force bagpipers perform. There is a flyover of 50 aircraft
Wow.
representing all the states.
I don't think we saw that on TV.
No, there is Air Force One that flies over later, waggling its wings, followed by a 21 cannon salute. And they're 2 seconds apart, so you got a minute or two of there, followed by the classic 3 volleys of rifle fire, and then taps, holding the flag. Tension. Just when they think they're going to be about to fold up the flag on the signal, about to give the signal, Cardinal Cushing comes over.
What timing? What timing?
Comes over and starts his closing prayer. And that's what he did. One of the, people said, if he lets go, he's going to be walking guard around a radar station in Greenland,
Wow.
That's how it was. You got to remember, millions and millions of people were watching them. They folded the flag, presented to the superintendent of Arlington. He presents it to Mrs. Kennedy. And that essentially closes the ceremony. Now you've got 25 minutes, 30 minutes for the crowd to disappear. The troops had marched off. That was a tough decision because there were so many people. They decided to march up the hill towards the Curtis Lee house. So Sam and his crew had been standing there, standing at attention. And I don't know if anybody remembers about or knows about standing at attention. You don't want to lock your knees. You'll pass out. And they knew how to do it. So it wasn't according to the script. When everybody was clear, Sam took his men. They marched down the hill somewhat. He halted them, told them to do an about face the grave site, and he gave a final salute. And basically said later on, they all agreed. They had been with the president virtually for 4 days.
Wow.
And they felt that it was a last goodbye. So that was basically it. He went back that night. He watched the events on television, made comments, recorded them, had 9 copies made, gave 8 of them to the pallbearers. Valley Forge Flag Company sent little flags for each one of the people. Mrs. Kennedy asked then for the tack from Blackjack. She wanted the saddle and the boots from Blackjack,
Yeah.
which she got in the next couple of days.
I want to say, Carl, again, it's an incredible story. I hope that SCAN one day will basically take your story and tell more about it. Maybe we do a lunch and learn. Again, Carl, thank you for your service, number one.
Thank
you
you
for telling the story.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And again, thank you, SCAN, for letting us tell this story to you. Without further ado, thank you.
If the black dog of depression makes you feel like the saddest soul on earth, you're not alone. Around 350 million people share this debilitating but treatable condition. If you're worried about someone, ask if they're okay. If you're not doing so well yourself, ask for help. There is no shame in doing so. The only shame is missing out on life. So get help, be helped, and always hold on to hope.
It was a truly fun Ocean Fun Day at Sandy Hook back in early summer that was enjoyed by hundreds of Monmouth and Ocean County residents. On top of that, it was a beautiful day weather-wise as well. SCAN's TV production class was there to cover the event. On Sunday, May 22nd, Ocean Fun Day took place at Sandy Hook Beach. There were many exciting workshops and walking tours available to all participants. One such workshop was a paddle share demonstration run by Kevin and Brandon Murray from Sandy Hook Kayak and Paddleboards Rental. Kevin and Brandon discussed paddleboard and kayak safety. There was another workshop for a new appreciation of sharks, rip currents, and water safety in summer. The walking tours included a bird walk, observing shore and woodland birds, keeping quarters, a history of the park with a park ranger guide, go seining, observe seine net catch of marine life in Sandy Hook Bay.
And this is our big outreach, spring outreach event. It's Ocean Fun Days, and it's really meant to be fun for families.
New Jersey Natural Gas started Ocean Fun Days about 19 years ago. We were looking to do something in the community that really focused on our amazing coastal environment. And we were hoping that, it would be educational so we could bring youth and families, grandparents, everybody, all of us, because we all need to know how to protect our environment.
Ocean Fun Day is an annual event sponsored by New Jersey Natural Gas and enjoyed by all. We will be right back.
At the Save Green Project from New Jersey Natural Gas, we're bringing you rebates and incentives, including 0% APR financing, right on your natural gas bill to help make energy efficiency affordable. And with the possibility of no upfront costs and special incentives for moderate income customers, investing in equipment upgrades doesn't have to be out of reach. Go to SaveGreenProject.com for details on available rebates and incentives to help you upgrade to energy-efficient HVAC and water heating equipment. You could also be eligible for thousands of dollars in incentives for seal-up and insulation fixes. In the long run, you could be saving money on your energy bills too. Visit us at SaveGreenProject.com. That's SaveGreenProject.com.
I'm Bill Sharkey. On today's show, we're going to give you a little of Broadway with some razzmatazz. We're talking about David Meehan's Monday morning acting and improv class. He has been teaching this class at SCAN since 2018. Dave is a professional director and acting coach who is on Broadway and TV. David has students currently in Broadway shows, on television, and in Hollywood movies. In our segment today, you will see SCAN students perform a couple of improv scenarios, like buying ice cream at a store that has no ice cream, or dealing with unruly customer service people. Now, we all have experienced that scenario. Some of the students have prior acting experience, and others have no experience at all. But all the students have a lot of fun and laughs. David's next venture is directing a Broadway play next month called Camp. Camp is having its off-Broadway premiere at Theatre Row in New York for a limited engagement, August 4th to the 21st. Featuring a cast of 23, the musical will transport you to upstate New York. Camp Goody Goody, summer retreat for the children of the elite, run by fading socialite Madame Treffaut. It's never too late to have fun, and I recommend that you sign up for this class today.
If someone were to tell you that there is a theater and acting and improvisation classes in the basement of Monmouth Mall, you would say, no way. But you'd be wrong. Every Monday morning, a group of seniors gathers for classes in just those subjects. Led by David Meehan, a professional actor, director, and vocal coach with many Broadway and European credits, The class involves acting and improvisation, which frequently lead to a fully staged play. For the past 5 years, Monday has seen the students involved in improvisation, where the students are given just a place and a situation, where they act out the scene without memorizing a script. Whatever the student says to the other person is the script. Improvisation is fun, creative, and non-threatening, with some spontaneous dialogue being very funny. The student doesn't plan the humor, it just comes out. David writes personalized plays for the students to perform at the end of the term. There is no memorizing of lines, just a familiarity with the script, which has made each of the past 5 end-of-term productions very successful and thoroughly entertaining for our invited audience. So if Netflix doesn't do it for you anymore, come to the other side of the screen and become a performer. Another improv class is over, and we've had a great deal of fun. Some of us who have never been in a class like this totally enjoyed the experience and found our fellow actors generous in making us feel comfortable and successful. Within the scene, we actors just spoke to each other, forgetting that our fellow classmates were watching. Given an occasional encouraging word from David regarding each performance, we felt more comfortable, more sure of ourselves, and enjoyed the experience. From amateur to more experienced player, we all became part of one long tradition of actors, because all the world's a stage.
At the Save Green Project from New Jersey Natural Gas, we're bringing you rebates and incentives, including 0% APR financing, right on your natural gas bill to help make energy efficiency affordable. And with the possibility of no upfront costs and special incentives for moderate income customers, investing in equipment upgrades doesn't have to be out of reach. Go to SaveGreenProject.com for details on available rebates and incentives to help you upgrade to energy-efficient HVAC and water heating equipment. You could also be eligible for thousands of dollars in incentives for seal-up and insulation fixes. In the long run, you could be saving money on your energy bills too. Visit us at SaveGreenProject.com. That's SaveGreenProject.com.
If the black dog of depression makes you feel like the saddest soul on earth, you're not alone. Around 350 million people share this debilitating but treatable condition. If you're worried about someone, ask if they're okay. If you're not doing so well yourself, ask for help. There is no shame in doing so. The only shame is missing out on life. So get help, be helped, and always hold on to hope.